7 is week 5. No huge upsets in week 6 aside from the usual Thursday night shocker where Pittsburgh defeats number 10 South Florida. Quickly, your reactions on what is becoming a weekly staple in college football, the Thursday night ESPN upset.
I tell you what, in college football these days, not much surprises me, but I was really surprised. I thought South Florida was the real deal, but Pittsburgh goes ahead and knocks them all out last Thursday.
I, on the other hand, was not surprised, as you know, because I expected a close game and said as much on this show last week. If you rode Pittsburgh plus 13, you are welcome. If not, listen to me and listen to Doyle today. Ryan Doyle goes 6-5, by the way, against the spread. He has promised a rebound for week 7. He asks, "Do not go spread, my friends," and we hope you don't. Other week 6 recap notes. Big story from Saturday has got to be Vanderbilt pulling off the upset. Not really that big of an upset, though, and that is just a sign of the times in the SEC. They beat Auburn at Vanderbilt. Reactions from that game?
Well, it's not a huge shock. Maybe after the first quarter, a huge shock. But when you look at the way Auburn's offense has been playing all year, you look at the way Vandy has been playing all year, not a huge shock, but definitely a changing of the guard maybe at Vanderbilt.
That's quickly already their 3rd conference win, and they do still sit atop the standings in the SEC East, which begs the question. We've got a nice little body of work to judge them by. Now, they're 5-0. Like I said, already 3 conference wins. The mock BCS standings are already out. Oklahoma and Bama still sitting 1-2, but Vanderbilt, surprisingly, the computers really like them, and it's easy to see why. They're at number 8 in the mock BCS standings. The BCS standings haven't come out yet, but we can already kind of gauge what they're going to look like. Can they contend in the SEC East?
Well, Commodore fans, don't get too excited. There are more than 7 teams better than Vandy in the country. Still go to Georgia, have to play Florida, Kentucky, and Tennessee all in conference. That's going to be a very tough road to hoe for Vandy.
How much wins? You know, we look at projecting the rest of the season. It's borderline impossible to do, but we're going to do it anyway. How much wins do you see for Vanderbilt? What is their record at the end of the season?
It's really tough because there are so many games that can go either way. I'm looking at an 8-4 record for Vanderbilt. Not great for that 5-0 start, but definitely impressive for a team like Vanderbilt. A lot of hinge games there left for the Commodores.
Well, you don't even have to watch the rest of the season because let me tell you how this is going to go. They're going to beat Duke and Tennessee because they are clearly, without a doubt, the best team in the state of Tennessee right now. I don't quite think they have what it takes to beat Georgia or Florida, mainly because they're not under the radar as they have been in years past. I mean, those, believe it or not, they're going to be up to play a big-time game against Vanderbilt. There are 3 swing games, and they are all 3 on the road for Vanderbilt. If they can win one of these, and I think they will, I don't know which one, but they will, it'll be an 8-win season, like you said. I agree with you. At Mississippi State, at Kentucky, and then at Wake Forest to end the season, I see probably 8-4, maybe 9-3 if they can pull off an upset somewhere.
Well, I really like the Commodores in the simple fact that they have a dual threat at quarterback now. You saw Mackenzie Adams come in. When Mackenzie Adams came in, we thought, well, here's their pocket passer to complement Chris Nixon. Tell you what, Mackenzie Adams very mobile as well as he showed. Very accurate, very strong quarterback. Then we have Chris Nixon, the very mobile quarterback. So the Commodores maybe surprising people. Don't Florida do not go into Nashville thinking that's an easy win.
Yeah, stop piling talent up there at Vanderbilt like they do with the other football factories across the country. What, other than, Vanderbilt over Auburn, and we had the upset Thursday night, other lasting impressions for you from week 6?
Well, for me, Josh, it's got to be the emergence of the Big 12. You look at your AP top 25, how about 4 of the top 7 teams coming out of that Big 12 conference, and then 6 in the top 25. And for me, you look at Oklahoma State, a team that historically has just not been a great football power. How about these numbers? 39, 56, 57, 55, and 56. That's the number of points they've scored in each week so far. So play a little football in Stillwater. And mark this day on your calendar, folks. Oklahoma rolls into Stillwater November the 29th. You're looking at an undefeated Sooner team at that time. Very interesting ball game.
I really don't think you can separate basketball and football season in the Big 12 anymore. That's what these scores have looked like over the first 6 weeks. I think, speaking of the Big 12, their top 2 teams who will play in our spotlight game this week, Texas and Oklahoma, along with Alabama. They did something this week, Texas and Oklahoma, a little bit more convincingly than Alabama. But they, all 3, did what championship caliber teams have to do, and that is avoiding the look-ahead game and avoiding the letdown game. Now, Alabama squeaks past Kentucky by 3, But you can ask people who have watched Kentucky in the SEC, they'll tell you Kentucky's got an SEC caliber defense. They may not sling the ball around like you do in the Big 12, but Kentucky's not a bad football team. And, you know, Texas and Oklahoma both had to go on the road in conference, and both won convincingly, avoiding the look-ahead game, and now that sets up a showdown in Dallas for this week.
I think you're right. When you look at Kentucky, how about the #1 scoring defense in the nation going into that game with Alabama and holding them to 17 points? Kentucky, not a bad football team at all, but definitely not going to be an offensive juggernaut at any point in the near future. But Oklahoma with a victory over Baylor, Texas going to Colorado coming out with a victory. Definitely what you have to do to be a championship caliber team last week for those teams.
All right, we're at the midpoint in the season now, so it's time to hand out some hardware. Let's hand out some awards. We'll start with the most surprising team, in our opinion, in the country. In my opinion, it's got to be Vanderbilt. We already talked about it at length on the show so far. Bobby Johnson has done a fantastic job in Nashville. We mentioned in shows past the limitations that you have as opposed to teams like Florida and Alabama and Georgia who can get any athlete they want to. Vanderbilt, so many restraints, whether it comes from academics or just profile of the school. I mean, Vanderbilt doesn't put a ton of guys in the NFL, and yet they sit atop the SEC East in week 6.
Well, when you look at NFL players for Vanderbilt, you really don't have any notable ones except for Denver quarterback Jay Cutler. But for me, when you look at the surprise team, I'm going to have to go down to Lubbock, Texas, and the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. How many people would think that at this point in this program, they'd be a top 10 football team? Yeah, not you. But when you look at it, just scored a lot of points. And really, I thought that last week was going to be a big test for Texas Tech. When you play Kansas State, they hang up 60 on Kansas State. Still a few questions on defense for Texas Tech, but definitely an improvement of where they have been.
And where there is surprise, there also has to be disappointment. So, Jeremy, who is your most disappointing team thus far in the 08 season?
Well, I think you have to look at the Auburn Tigers. You really do. A season coming in, a great defense, a brand new offense, just much heralded in the offseason. Absolutely pathetic on offense. You look at that Vandy game Saturday night, come out 13-0 in the first quarter, 125 yards in the first quarter. You're thinking this may be the breakout game. Just absolutely ridiculous. Could not move the ball. Couldn't decide who the quarterback was. Auburn just without an identity and really without a chance on offense right now.
Very hideous display on offense, if you can call it that, by Auburn. I'm going to stick with the Tigers, but I'm going to travel a little bit east and go to Clemson. All right, we know what was expected of Clemson at the beginning of the season. Number 9 ranking, we thought all the tools were there for Clemson to maybe make not only an ACC title run, but maybe a national title run. As usual, you can set your watch by it. Not only did they lose to Alabama, which in retrospect doesn't look quite as bad seeing where Alabama's gone since then, but they once again lose to an inferior conference opponent. Noon kickoff, Maryland comes in there and kicks them, and now they've got one loss in the conference already. They will have another one this week when they lose to Wake Forest on Thursday night. I got to say Clemson is by far my most disappointing team in the 08 season thus far.
Well, you look at that Maryland game, Maryland goes, wait a minute, Maryland got beat by Virginia 31-0. That's just embarrassing. Sad times for Clemson right now. That's all you can say. Really just worried about the future of that program.
You know, sad times for Ryan Doyle, believe it or not, last week too. Only 6-5. Doyle thought it smart to pick about half 100 games. He has narrowed it down to just maybe 5 or 6 games this week. So let's take it to Ryan Doyle in the Moneymaker Studios so he can get you out of the hole in week 7.
Hey there, friends. Sorry about the 6-5 record. We got to do better than that this week. Here we go. Wake Forest -2.5 against Clemson. Oklahoma -6.5 against Texas. Big game right there. I like Oklahoma. Purdue +18.5 at Ohio State. Ohio State, I don't think they can beat them by 18.5. Penn State -5 at Wisconsin. And LSU +6 at Florida. Big games. Back to you guys.